Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBurry555, and today I'm continuing my series of Mash Wikia reviews with Season 4, Episode 24, Deluge. So, this episode is, probably one of the most interesting from a timeline-wise, as in previous episodes, it's implied that that Mash is now set in the later war, but here, China just got involved, which was earlier in the war. Again, timeline continuity thing with MASH is not really a thing, but what this episode really does interesting is it splices archival newsreel / propaganda footage with the actual episode. Now, on the Mash Wiki, they claim that Larry Gelbart claimed that they did that because they ran out of footage when they were editing, i.e. they did not shoot enough and it was too late to shoot more, so they spliced newsreel footage into the episode. I do wonder, you wrote an episode and you did not realize you were not going to have enough recorded footage from it? Trying too much to portray this as a happy accident, I think? And it's also possible that they may have planned some newsreel footage, but not all of it, which that is a distinct possibility as well. And that could have been where they lost the time, like, oh, we saw we had more newsreel footage than we actually need, or something like that. So maybe, sure, but regardless of whether it was intentional or not, it definitely makes this episode unique and helps it stand out. And also gives us, the audience, a break from the constant, they're dealing with a deluge of patients, hence the name, and that's where the Chinese entering the war comes in, because the UN lines are overrun, so there's going to be an influx of casualties. And that's ultimately what this episode is. They're running low on plasma because they got a bunch of expired. They run out of surgical gloves, so they have to sanitize their hands with alcohol before every single patient because they have no more gloves, so they have to operate barehanded, which is not great from a sanitary perspective. They also have to deal with a fire outside of OR because you got a bunch of rags now soaked with alcohol and somebody carelessly throws a cigarette into the laundry. Of course, the same soldier that Hawkeye earlier asked, don't smoke in there because they got a bunch of, flammable substances around. And that was before they ran out of surgical gloves. So yeah, and there's also, it's raining, so that's not helping their lighting situation because apparently they are running with light bulbs that if you get wet, they explode. Let's not also forget there was a scene where BJ got a face full of blood because it squirted at him. And let's not also forget, too, that their mines are going off because of a change in the weather, because apparently there's a minefield near the 4077, which has been a constant thing. I don't know if that's actually good historical practice or not. Not good historical. If it was, we don't need to apply moral judgment right now. It's just whether it's historical practice or not. I have no idea whatsoever. But effectively, this episode is just basically one thing after another for the characters to deal with. And thus, the newsreel footages gives us, the audience, a chance to take a breath. Now, they actually were able to kind of connect some of the newsreels to the events going on, including a ping pong playing cat named Deadwood, something along that line, which apparently BJ somehow references that. Again, I don't know how they actually did that, if it wasn't intentional, but apparently it was unintentional, according to the claims. Who knows? But overall, this is actually a really fun episode, despite the deluge, because it's not just good character moments, such as this scene where Margaret demands that, hey, don't send us nurses away, I was born to serve, etc., to Colonel Potter. Like, that really shows a lot about Margaret's character and how she is probably the most military zero besides Colonel Potter when you really think about it. She mentions that she was born in an army house, but she didn't know what a civilian was for a while, which also explains a lot about Margaret's behavior as well. Considering, the way she very much definitely likes chains of command and more authoritative leadership style, for lack of a better term. Again, explains actually a lot about her. But there's also, too, some pretty good scenes here and there. I can't talk about every single one of them because to do that, it just would take way too long. But one scene that stuck out to me is partially because of another YouTube channel I've been recently watching a lot of videos from. If you ever heard of the YouTube channel World War Wisdom, it's a channel by a World War II reenactor who, from what I can tell, really knows his stuff. And he recently, 7 months ago or so, did an episode about white phosphorus. And in this episode, one of the patients that the 477 is treating has white phosphorus burns on his legs. And just having watched that video only a couple of days ago, it's like, actually, I think I watched it yesterday as of the recording of this episode. I'm recording this in advance, by the way. But it made me like, yeah, they really do have to take white phosphorus pretty seriously, because when this episode aired, I'm not that old. When I originally watched this episode, I had no idea what white phosphorus was. None. But now I do. And yeah, it was pretty much the only chemical that was used in World War II on the front lines. But yeah, just having that additional historical context, and it's quite impressive that I just recently watched that video not too long ago, and gives me a bit more context of how serious white phosphorus is. Now, I think in the episode they did a good job explaining, the dangers of white phosphorus. But having that additional context was, in my opinion, really helped me to understand the gravity of that scene a little bit more. And yeah, there is certainly a lot more I can talk about, but let's keep the discussion going. Let me know your thoughts on this episode, any kind of small moments that you like that I didn't end up talking about. Let me know all that stuff in the comment section down below. And I'll see you next week for the final episode of Season 4. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.